Do you find that, well, because of your activism, because of the movie and the additional knowledge out there about autism, that, you know, families can dream big? I mean, they can look at you and say...
Well, you see, another thing is, after you work with the little kids, they kind of go off into two different directions. The ones where they can do the things that I do, and then there's some that are not going to do the things that I do. They remain nonverbal. So there are a few that can learn to type independently. There are others that have all kinds of serious problems. They cannot do normal activities like go to a restaurant or a football game, which is very, very stressful for the family. You see, this is one of the problems in autism, is it's such a big spectrum. Now, when the kids are really small, they all kind of look the same.
Right.
But they almost kind of go into two groups. And the thing I find is teachers often have a hard time shifting gears. And the one thing I absolutely do not want to see is see a kid like me put into a classroom with a whole bunch of nonverbal kids. That I definitely do not want to see.
What do you do about an education system that's clearly struggling with that?
Well, the problem is that we're getting locked into the labels. And we need to be looking a lot more, what is this kid actually capable of doing? My drawing ability, that showed up around 3rd or 4th grade. Kids that are good at math, that tends to show up around when they're 8 or 9 years old. Well, then if he can do the next grade of math book, let him do it. But the little math geniuses, they often need special ed in reading. That tends to be the pattern. Then you got kids that are good at words. We got to keep expanding things. He likes trains, read a book about trains. Let's do mathematics with trains. We got to expand on those fixations. We got to get a lot more into what can they do when they grow up. And we've got to start teaching those job skills. And I think it needs to start around 13 years old. Let's just set up things in the informal economy, like walking dogs for the neighbors, fixing computers at some local businesses, making some PowerPoints for local business people, maybe volunteering in a farmer's market. You know, and then when they're 16, then they can get more formal kinds of jobs. But they've got to learn how to work. Because and that's something that I had a lot of work experience by the time I graduated. And parents have got to work on setting that up. Mother set up my little sewing job with a local seamstress. Or let's say you set something up at the local bookstore or the local hardware store, just some local shop, and have them come in and explain to the manager the problem and how that manager needs to just coach them. Let's take a job like museum tour guide. Museums will take them at 12 years old, but somebody's got to coach them. You can't just follow the clients around the museum. You've got to learn exactly how to approach a client, and that's got to be taught, like coaching an actor in a play.